We're here with Amy today. Amy is, fun fact, my sister, my oldest sister.
Fun
And
fact, you had to say that?
yeah, fun fact.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll go with it. We'll
we're
go
going
with
with
it.
it. So, anyways, Amy is going to tell us a little bit about her journey with breast cancer because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And then also talk to us a little bit about her role at the American Cancer Society. So, I'm going to pass it over to Amy. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Thank you. Thanks, Beth. And thanks, Shannon. Thanks for having me today, especially during this month that is very visible for not only the American Cancer Society, but for breast cancer awareness in general, with all entities that do highlight the month of October to really elevate the awareness. And what's most important is conversations like this to be able to do that. So thank you for this opportunity. And also, thanks for letting me share my story. It's been a hot minute since I've done that. I'm
Yeah, because
22,
you just celebrated what, 23 years?
22. Yeah.
22. All
Um,
right.
it's yeah, thinking back, it's been quite a journey. I've not walked that journey alone ever. I've had an adorable, loving family that's helped me every step of the way. And then, as you mentioned, I work for the American Cancer Society, and no one ever walks that cancer journey alone, being a part of the American Cancer Society. So we'll get to that in a minute. I'll back myself up and share a little bit about how my journey began. It was in 2003, and I was raising three children. I had my own business. It was a daycare, and so we were always on the go, kids going in every different direction. I felt like wow, must be I'm really going fast because whew, this weight is just melting off. What's going on? So I had noticed some weight changes, but I thought it was just because I was just super busy. And turns out when we actually had just ripped the back of our house off. We had no roof in the back of our house. We were contractors around all the time. Again, another level of busyness. So I figured that was why things were happening. And I happened to just get done helping do something, and I just was like, oh my gosh, my chest hurts. And my finger landed right on a bump that I was certain hadn't been there 2 weeks before because it was my daughter's 16th birthday 2 weeks before. And I had worn this like little skinky top, I guess, at the time. And I was like, I know I was moving around a lot that night and I didn't feel that. So it was body awareness, right? I can't emphasize that enough. You have to know your body. You have to make sure you take action on anything that you think is different or is alarming. And in that moment, that was alarming for me. So I quickly called my PCP. And fast forwarding to a week, it was only about a week later before I saw her, and then was pretty much told, well, we'll put you in for a mammogram, but we're pretty sure that you're fine. You're 32, you're fine. And I was like, well, I don't feel fine. And I mentioned the weight loss, and they were like, well, you're active. So it turns out after the mammogram, quickly that very same day, they said, let's do a ultrasound. Did the ultrasound, and I was told, could you come back on Monday? So this was a Friday. Could you come back on a Monday for a biopsy? And we're not going to tell you right now you have cancer, but would you like to be part of a cancer study? And I thought, oh my gosh. I remember getting back to the car and calling my mom and saying, oh, I think I'm in trouble. And she was ready to get on an airplane and just, run right up to Vermont. And I thought, well, let's just wait. And that night I had volunteered to go help at an Alison Krauss concert. So I had to hurry up and get there. So I really didn't much mention much to my husband. I just said, yeah, I got to go back on Monday. And ran late to get to the Alison Krauss concert, and last person shows up gets porta potty duty. So I thought, well, real crappy ending to this day. But at that very moment, standing watching those porta potties, looking out at Shelburne Farms or Shelburne Museum, sorry, where we were, the sun was just setting, and Allison started singing "You're the Lucky One," and I took that as my sign. We asked for
Mhm.
signs, and I took
Absolutely.
that as my sign that I was going to be okay.
Mhm.
And I kind of ran with that. And through my cancer treatments, oftentimes they say, ask for signs, ask for signs. And that was my very first one. And found out about a week later after my biopsy that I had invasive ductal breast cancer, meaning they knew that it invasive, any cancer is invasive, right? So it's invaded your body, but they knew in mind that probably likely it's headed towards the lymph nodes. So we knew immediately we were going to do, what do they call sentinel node biopsy after we decided, are we doing lumpectomy or mastectomy? And I was going for the gusto. I wanted to just be done with this. I didn't want to look back. And my gut was telling me, do the mastectomy. Physicians tried to talk me out of it. All the clinicians, right, to the radiology oncologist that said, you really don't need to be that aggressive. And I was like, yeah, my gut's telling me I do. So
Hmm.
we did the mastectomy. I did 16 weeks of chemotherapy and 6 weeks of daily radiation. And my pathology came back at the end of my radiation where they were pretty sure that if I hadn't done the mastectomy, I would be back in for more surgery. So my advice to patients that I've gotten the beautiful opportunity to support over the past 22 years is just go with your gut. Your
Right.
doctors will understand in that shared decision making if, you might not be right, but they might not be right either. So go with what your
Right.
gut is telling you to do.
You really have to
And
be your biggest own advocate, right? Like I feel like you really had to advocate for yourself and the decisions that you felt were right for you. So a
yeah,
lot of people, I feel like they rely on the medical professionals to have all the answers, but sometimes, like you said, it's just your gut.
yeah, and they're just humans too, right? They're
Yeah.
very knowledgeable humans, but we talk a lot about shared decision making in many different aspects now, and it is really encouraged now. Fast forwarding 22 years and working in the healthcare world, it is very encouraged to do that shared decision making and do your research and talk with people. So that's basically what I ended up starting to do right from diagnosis, and it ended up paying out pretty heavily for me. I'm still here 22 years later. So you just never stop educating yourself. It was a really difficult journey, I will say, kids not understanding and trying to wake up every day and run a business and, needing to lean on people. And I'm pretty independent, I like to think. And I had to deal with a lot of asks, and that was really tough for me. But my sisters were always there. My mom moved in with us. Having your mom put you to bed when you're like, kind of old. It was a little
I don't
weird.
know. I wouldn't say you were old. Were you even 30? You were 30,
I was
right?
30, I was
30.
32,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was a little weird mom coming in at night, just like, night, guys. And I'm like, Mom, yeah. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of family around.
That's
So I was
awesome.
incredibly thankful for that. And then so that radiation took me through so I was diagnosed in August. So by March, my hair started to grow back, and I was like, I want to give back. I want to do something. I don't want to think about myself anymore. And I found the Cancer Society was looking for a food chair. And I thought, well, I can do that. How many people would I have to feed? And they were like, well, there should be like, 1,500 people there. I thought, oh, okay, we'll do it. Shot. And so I put together a team, and that first year, all my family, all my friends, I mean, you're kind of a poster person right at that point, with, the hair just growing back and the journey you've been through and having a rather large vocal voice like I do. I mean, everybody knew about it. So, right from the beginning, it was important for me to share the awareness of know your body and get help and don't be afraid to ask for help and your healthcare. So, we raised $12,000 that year for Relay and fed all those people. And they asked me to co-chair the next year. And I remember calling my husband saying, you'll never believe this. They asked me to co-chair this massive event for next year. And he said, don't you think maybe you're taking on too much? And I said, no, it's bigger than that. It's the American
Mhm.
Cancer Society, and they think I'm going to be alive this time next year. And I believe that too. And I want to do this event. And we've never missed a survivor lab since. You with the American Cancer Society are diagnosed from the day one you're diagnosed, you are a survivor. They are there to help you along the journey, but day one that you're usually by yourself or luckily, hopefully with your family when you hear that diagnosis, and that is you're a survivor from that moment on. So I quit I built my business right from the ground up and
Mhm.
was really willing to take almost a 70% pay cut to go to work for American Cancer Society because I had an experience one day where one of my little girls came in and she had taken and emptied her piggy bank because she was like 3, but she was wrapping her head around the fact that oh, we've got that magic medicine for Amy, and we're doing this thing, and we have to raise money. And my mom says I can give her my piggy bank. And she said, here's the medicine money for you, Mamie.
Mm,
And that stuck. And there's kids now to this day that were part of my daycare that still come back and volunteer, or still make sure to tell me when some member of their family has been diagnosed and they reach out for help. It was like a community we built right from day one. So yeah, I'm just so fortunate. I'm so fortunate to have the family that I have, and to have to still be here 22 years later getting to talk to you about it.
yeah, yeah. We're definitely glad that you're still here, Amy.
Thank you.
What would you say, like right now, what is, one of the most important things you would say to somebody that maybe just received that diagnosis? Here the first time that they have cancer. What do you think the first thing, like what goes through your head and how would you help them?
Well, my this is how I received the information. I started running through the house screaming that I was dying. I wouldn't recommend that because
No.
it's not. But 22 years ago, I feel like cancer wasn't being talked about as much as it is now. And I'm proud of that. I am
Yeah,
so proud of that because we are not, it's not a normal thing, but we have to some degree normalized it where it's okay. And we can walk around bald and beautiful, and we can tell our friends, and we can talk about it, and we can ask for help. But at that moment, 22 years ago, that's exactly what I thought was what was going to happen. And I would say now there's places where you can reach out. You call a family member. You first have to maybe think about as far as every individual is so different, and how do they. I just worked with a patient who said, I don't want to tell my sisters. And their
mm,
reason was very valid in that, wow, if 1 in 8 women are going to be diagnosed in their life, but those who maybe have a genetic component, I don't want to tell my sister. I don't want to make them worry about it. So
yeah,
everybody has to process differently, but I think she did the right thing. She reached out to someone she knew could help. She didn't sit with it by herself.
right.
And that wasn't a family member. I wasn't a family member, but she knew I was there to help her process.
Yeah,
So reach out to your doctors, or, I guess the recommendation from me right now is to just ask questions when you get that first phone call, and then ask more questions, and then decide how you want to move forward on your own terms.
yeah, absolutely. And obviously early detection is, the one of the most important things. So if you could say something to somebody right now that maybe's never had a mammogram, or what would be your word to convince them, like you got to do it. Like you've got to go get this done.
Yeah, so the recommendation has recently changed within the last couple of years, age 45 and up. Okay, so age 45 and up. And if you have history of cancer in your family, it is also a recommended conversation with your physicians as to when you should. So my daughters started getting their mammograms 10 years before I was diagnosed. They started the conversation. So that was putting them even in their 20s. Not saying they got their mammograms then, but the conversation started.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is know your body, make sure you're aware of any, even a minute change. um, Educate yourself. American Cancer Society's cancer.org is a great resource to get education, to learn about it. Even if you're before you're 45, if you want to understand what does turning 45 mean, and what is a mammogram, and what is the process, reach out to someone who can give you that education. Mammograms don't hurt. Are they fun? No. Maybe they're uncomfortable, but they're
I was
not.
gonna say they're definitely, I don't know,
They're,
hurt, but uncomfortable, yes. But hey, it's worth it.
It's worth it. And then I would also say, because I have people say, well, I don't think I'd rather not know. It's what we don't know that can
That
kill us.
hurts you.
I
Yes.
had triple negative breast cancer at the age of 32. If I hadn't found it when I did, it had already hit my guard lymph node, which is that first lymph node in your armpit, that before it breaks through that and goes into your whole lymphatic system. I might not be here right now getting to talk to you. I might not have seen my kids graduate from high school and college. So, at this point, I can only say just make sure even if it scares you, get somebody to console you and to partner with you and to get you started on your journey, because that is so important. Do not delay. Get your yearly screenings of all sorts, and it is what we need to know that we can take care of.
Absolutely. So for somebody that doesn't really know what the American Cancer Society does, like sometimes I feel like when you say that, they think it's like this big corporation and they're just like, but I mean, there's a lot of resources that are available, even just like on a local level, like, when we were just recently going through with a family member, a type of cancer, like all the support that you were able to give us and be able to tell us the stuff that was out there that like I don't think that most people know that. Like, your WIG program or the food program. Like you want to just can you just touch base on a few of those things that are available for people to utilize?
I could talk a half a day about all of this.
Absolutely. We'll put your
Um,
contact info in here. No.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody, anytime. I mean, what an honor to be able to highlight an organization that I hope to retire from. I literally left my business to come to work for the American Cancer Society to hopefully make the future better for my children, my grandchildren, the children I was caring for when I was diagnosed, and my family and friends. And that's what we've done over the past 22 years. That the evolution of where we have come and how we can support our community is undeniably the best there is. We right now are funding $3.7 million just at Dartmouth in New Hampshire. When we talk about how is our money staying local and coming back, that's one way. We are desperately trying to, COVID was very damaging to some of our programs, as you can imagine. And so one of those programs is Road to Recovery. On-time treatment is life-saving treatment, and many people don't have the family resources that I was lucky and fortunate enough to have. We have Road to Recovery. We recruit and train and make sure that our volunteers are prepared to pick up patients to get them to and from their treatments. That is a program we need extensive help with. Cancer.org period is just a place to start if there's something you're looking for a service. If someone's in treatment or you'd like additional education, the 1-800-227-2345, our NCIC agents are there 24/7 if you want to know what's happening in your own neighborhood. Some of the work that I now get to do, I am an associate director for Cancer Center Partnerships. So every cancer center in the state of New Hampshire and Vermont, I have the awesome opportunity of getting to work with, to figure out what their needs are, to figure out how they support their cancer patients. So it kind of depends on where you're located. Those are my two states. But if you're listening to this podcast, we're straight across the country. We're everywhere. And that 1-800 number is really the best number, that the best way to get in touch with us is by calling that number to see what is available in your own local area.
That's awesome. And there's, tons of ways for people to volunteer with the American Cancer Society as well, correct? Like, I know Strides is a huge thing. And that's still a walk that's in October.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I know Shannon has extensive family history with breast cancer as well. So they typically will do that walk as well. But there's numerous ways to get involved. So I would say definitely,
365, there's some way to get involved with their largest volunteer organization in the world.
yeah.
And it is so imperative that I guess, again, if I think back to my survivorship, maybe things would have looked a little different for me had I not been so empowered to like put my best foot forward and think about somebody other than myself at that time. That's truly one of the biggest reasons I did call that number, to say, hey, is there something I can do? I'm just finishing my treatment and I need to put my energy somewhere else. I give myself 10 minutes a day to cry. But other than that, I need some positive areas to be able to put this energy that I have cooped up inside me and the knowledge I've learned. I immediately said I wanted to talk to somebody who was 1 year here and passed all their treatment. And then I wanted to talk to somebody who had been here 5 years, because that was the magic number. You survive 5 years, you're going to be okay. And then now I'm 22 years out. So I can't wait to tell somebody I'm 22 years. There is hope. We always have hope. And so what that being a volunteer is that's hope. When you are a volunteer for the American Cancer Society, you give hope. Whether it's yourself who's been on the journey or a loved one in your family, coworker, a neighbor, by you volunteering, you are giving hope back and you are helping continue the mission of the American Cancer Society. Because if we're not out there pounding the pavement, raising the money, we can't fund $3.7 million in research right in our own state of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
That's where that money comes from, is all of us working out in the communities to let folks know how they can get involved.
Yeah, and one of your other roles within the American Cancer Society was fundraising, right? Like that
Oh,
was
yeah.
a huge role for her. So I do remember one of the things that stick out in my mind the most was the Jolly Cups that she had organized for to get pink cups for the month of October, and then they would donate, proceeds from the cups to
Quarter a cup, and they
quarter
did
a
it
cup.
year round.
Yeah,
Yeah,
year round. So
every
and
company has a
pink
way.
garbage cans. Amy had
Yes.
pink garbage cans. Like there were
Oh
so
my
many
gosh.
ways that you wouldn't think to do fundraising but and raise awareness at the same time, right? Like if somebody sees a pink trash can, they don't just think like, oh wow, she's bougie. They're like, huh, I wonder why there's a pink trash can there. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and the way
So
that the company got involved, I remember sitting there with them that day, and I just said, just when I would get up and go to chemo, if I drove through my neighborhood and I saw neighbors I didn't even know putting a pink trash can at the end of their driveway, wow, it would be like a hug from all my
right,
neighbors that I don't even know.
right.
And that was how it all began. It's amazing. And a lot of times people don't get involved just because they're not asked. They don't know that they
So
can.
true.
I've had
Hmm.
people say to me, well, I don't have much money to give. Don't give me your money, give me your
Your
time.
time. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, real quick, I just want to touch base real quick on one thing you said too, because I know this is always stuck in my head because you always say it, but you'd give yourself 10 minutes a day to cry.
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from? Like, we're 10 minutes. Like, it's so funny, but like, you would always say that. She's like, I had my 10 minutes to cry today and I'm moving on. So, what's the
Yeah.
magic number? Why 10?
I guess it was just, again, back to I had 3 kids. I had, 15 that were coming through my door every day that I was taking care of. And their parents and their parents' problems. And I was always trying to prove, like, oh, I can do this, I can get through this, doesn't matter how crappy I feel. And sometimes that's all you had. But I guess that's just where it kind of started, was like, if there's a lot of things cancer can do, but there's a lot more cancer cannot do. And it couldn't take more time. It was already taking so much of my time. So I thought, well, if I just put a time on it, then I know I'm like kind of it's like putting on a little cooking timer, right? Okay, now you wipe it off and you get back to it because you don't want those little ones to see.
Right.
Even though sometimes they did, but that was just the way of taking my power back. And I've
Yeah.
I've used that for a multitude of things from,
Oh,
ever
yes.
since then. Um,
Amy could write a book on her experiences and everything that she has endured in her life for sure. So,
It sounds like she has a title, 10 minutes.
10
yeah,
minutes
10
a
minutes.
day.
I think it's the probably the name of her future book to come for
Yeah.
sure.
10
Yeah,
minutes a day, but
10 minutes a
just
day.
10 minutes a day, but just it could have been a very different experience, but I think I concentrated really hard on trying to make it be something different, because all those kids were watching me, and many of them have had to go through cancer journeys in different ways. It may not have been their daycare provider, but I wanted them to know that there was magic medicine, chemo, and little toddlers, that was what they knew, magic
Yeah.
medicine, and that there can be life after cancer.
One other quick question for you. If I'm a young female, or even, I mean, breast cancer touches males as well, right? I feel
Sure
like a
does.
lot of people don't
Yeah.
recognize that, but it is both genders.
Yes.
Maybe I don't have health insurance. Is there programs out there to help with getting a mammogram and getting a physical if you don't
Yes.
have the funds to do so?
Yes, in this day and age right now, things are a little difficult. Things can be changing, so it's great to check in with your local Department of Health. I know, very little about states outside of Vermont and New Hampshire, but definitely check in with your local cancer society, wherever you may be, but also with your local Department of Health. In New Hampshire, we are so fortunate to have the breast and cervical cancer program, and they actually are embedded into some health systems, but also it's a standalone program that you can check into, and they can help if you are not able to have insurance, or however you find wherever you find yourself in that. situation, and they are able to help. And in Vermont, we have a very similar program as well.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts you want to give somebody that, are inspirational or?
Well, I'm going to be in New Hampshire next Sunday for the
Oh,
Rides Against Breast Cancer Walk that will take place at Memorial Field.
nice.
We starts from 10 a.m. registration opens, and then the walk actually starts at noon. I look so forward to those, but they are happening across the country for the next
Yeah.
2 weekends. So no matter where you're located, jump out there and go be a part of the Pink Sea.
Yeah.
It's always
If you've not taken part in one of those, I would strongly recommend it. Like it's something you've never seen before. And to just when you're walking, you turn around and you just see us. And it literally is just a sea of pink
It's
walking
amazing.
behind you.
Yeah.
It's a pretty special thing to be a part of. So
And
Definitely.
I guess my other parting words would be, yes, we raise a lot of awareness in the month of October, but something to be aware of no matter what time of the year. Be aware that our health systems are a little taxed, and that may take a little bit of time to get you scheduled for a mammography,
Yeah.
a colonoscopy, whatever the screening may be that you are in need of. So make your calls early, be patient, make sure that you're persistent, but get everything screened. And if you need assistance with, what recommendations for screenings are there for you, again, cancer.org, we have all of that there. Or, when Betsy shares my contact information, I'm always happy to be vocal about what you need. So please let me
absolutely.
know.
You can pull
But
some magical strings in the background sometimes.
and I just would say that I'm thankful for this opportunity, but I'm so thankful for my family and my friends, because without them, you just don't get to be here 22 years later. And
Takes a
I will
village.
never, ever, ever be able to thank everybody who's done so much for me. So I'm just so grateful and
We're
blessed.
so glad we got to have you here with us today. As Amy mentioned, like she's not in New Hampshire with me and Shannon, so that's why we are doing this via Zoom, but maybe we'll catch up with her next Sunday. Who knows?
Oh, I
Yeah,
would
maybe
love
she'll
We'll
send,
definitely
send
be
some
talking with
photos.
Amy again in the future because she has so many more stories to tell. She's just come off a year with her husband who had a lung transplant. So when I say that she has been through it, she has been through it. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
never
10
alone.
minutes.
right?
10
Yeah.
minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Well, thank you so much. And obviously, I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds
Thank you,
good. Thank you
Amy.
both.
Love you. See
Thank you. I
ya.
love you too. Thank you.
Bye.